Welcome back to May Influence You. My name's Liann May, and I am here on this January day of a new year. I love the beginning of every new year. Just gives you like a fresh start and something to look forward to and maybe change some of your habits. And today I have been so stressed out with so much anxiety. Almost canceled the show and just have a lot of anxiety going on today because I have my first celebrity guest, and he is a #1 best author, book writer of different books, like my newest one, Building the Non-Anxious Life, with John Delony. Here he is. Can you introduce yourself to them?
Yeah, I'm John. Thank you for having me on. I am really honored. I'm not even close to a celebrity, but I am glad that we get to hang out for a while. It's cool.
Well,
yeah, I'm John. I live here in Nashville, and I got a great wife, 2 cool kids, and a bunch of chickens.
Oh, fun. That's awesome. Yeah. And you have your PhD, right?
Yeah, I have. I spent most of my career in academics just as a nerd, and so ended up with a couple of PhDs just hanging out with nerds. And now I do this for a living, a YouTuber, as my son says. So it's good.
Oh, how cool. How old are your kids?
13 and 8.
Oh, fun. That's awesome. Those are fun,
awesome.
Fun ages.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so cool. Well, I've read your book a couple times. I loved it. I was fascinated with it. That's why I reached out to you, just because I really struggle with anxiety, and I know like millions of people like myself do too. And so I kind of wanted to let people know about your book because it's definitely helping me. Although, of course, I'll probably always struggle with it throughout my life. And so, yeah, tell us kind of the reasoning behind writing this book, and I'll let you just go from there.
Yeah, I mean you just said it perfectly. I think it's burying everybody. Everybody's anxious. Everybody's wound up, and I worked with college students and their families for 20 years, and so almost 20 years, and I watched it change from things were very stressful to things were very anxious to what we need to do is to clear the deck so that nobody feels anxious anymore. And we have to cure this anxiety. We got to get rid of this anxiety. And I realized the more we did that, the more anxious people were becoming. And then it was like, oh man, what if our anxiety's right? What harder conversations would we have to have? And so digging into the book was just like, why did everybody get anxious all at the same time? Why did everybody get ADHD at the same time and OCD at the same time? And what's happening? And the premise of the book is I think our anxiety is mostly right. I think we've created a world that our bodies were never designed to exist in. And we've created an insane way of living, and we call it normal. And then we get mad at our bodies for getting anxious. And so the way I describe anxiety in the book is it's just an alarm. It's just a fire alarm. That's it. And so occasionally in your house, you may have a fire alarm that malfunctions or you need to change the battery. But most of the time, if your alarm's going off, something's smoking, something's on fire. And that's the actual issue, not the alarm system. And so I think we're at a cultural, a moment in our culture where we need to have some hard conversations about how we're choosing to do life and the pace with which we're doing life and the insanity with which we're doing life. And to ask ourselves, do we want to keep blaming our bodies for trying to take care of us, or do we want to deal with the harder issues?
Sure. I know that I read in your book that you have struggled with anxiety yourself, and are you still having problems with it? Obviously, I know that's probably never going to go away, but have these daily choices that you like focus on in the book, have they helped you?
Yeah, it's been pretty remarkable. I always tell folks who want to, quote unquote, stop being anxious or get rid of anxiety, I don't ever want to live in a house without a smoke detector. That's dumb, right? Sure. What I want is that I only want that smoke detector going off when there's an actual fire. And so, yeah, it's been about a decade of me Some of it is trial and error. Some of it's been with therapists, and some of it's been with some of the best scientists and thinkers in the country. And more importantly, me sitting down with countless people over the years. And yeah, these daily choices, this idea of building a life where I'm not anxious all the time, has been transcendent. And so that doesn't mean I'm not stressed out. That doesn't mean that my friends don't get sick. I've got a buddy who's putting his mom in a living facility to end out her final days. I was with the family the other day. He's got a child who's about to pass from cancer. Life's still going to happen. The difference is I'm able to be present and grieve. I'm able to be present and be sad. I'm able to be present and help with what's the next right move here. Not just be buried under this anxiety, this anxiousness, right? So if I'm having, like you, if I'm having an interview with somebody like I want to talk to, I'm going to be nervous. I'm not going to be anxious about it. My body's not going to take off on me, right? And so that's a different practice, which has been pretty remarkable.
So what's my problem then? Because I have had so much anxiety, especially today. Like I'm just like, oh, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? I've changed it so many different times, and it's just like I have this like the fear, of I'm having this guy come on, and he's just very educated in what we're talking about, and I know nothing really about anxiety other than I have it. My kids have it. We struggle with it. And so...
so I would flip it around and ask myself, what is my anxiety? What is my body trying to protect me from? Right? And in this case, let's say your body's trying to protect you from being embarrassed or looking silly or asking a question and then you and I have never met, so I might answer it like, oh my gosh, you're so dumb, which I would never do that. By the way, I'm not that smart. You can walk a marathon too, right? There's guys who run it in 2 hours, and there's guys who walk it in 48 hours. So I think it's this: your body's trying to take care of you, and so instead of looking at it and thinking, "How do I need to stop being anxious? I got this big interview today," it's smiling and saying, putting your hand on your chest and say, "All right, you're trying to take care of me. I got it." Like the worst thing that happens is I don't publish this. Ta-da! That's it. That's the worst thing. I hit delete and it all goes away, and then I go have dinner. Or the worst thing that happens is this guy's a total dork and it's not even going to be good for me or my audience. And I learned some things. And so it's honoring, like your body's just trying to take care of you. And I think if we pulled a thread on those things, that's what my first book was about, was kind of pulling those stories. Like, what's the worst case? Like, so what? This thing goes, let's say this interview goes terrible, Liann, right? It goes awful. And what's the worst that happens? Like, and you begin to ask yourself, where was the story implanted in my soul that I can't be embarrassed, or the world's going to end, or someone's going to think badly of me? Because then you get to a place where you're like, oh yeah, who cares? My husband likes me, my kids like me, I'm fine. And you begin to operate with a lot more freedom in the world. And then when you show up with freedom, I don't understand it, but it's got this gravitational pull. People want to be around you, right? They want to come sit with you because you don't need anything from them, and you can just be present, and it's just a magical thing. So I would tell you, man, your body's probably doing right. This is your first big interview. It's awesome, and you're supposed to be nervous. It'd be weird if you weren't nervous, right? And it's what you do with that nervous energy. Do you erase the interview like 14 different times and delete it, or do you say, this is what I'm going to go with, and we're going to do it, I'm going to learn from it next time? It's all how you handle that energy, but I think your anxiety is probably working pretty good.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad that it is, or at least I'm showing you that it is. But I'll feel better when this interview is definitely over.
Sure.
Just so I won't have that. But yeah.
Oh, here's what I bet you $1 million you still will. You'll go back and you'll think, oh, I should have asked this. I can't believe I said this. My hair was doing this. Like that's just kind of part of it.
Sure.
And then you begin to slowly make peace with this is who I am, and I'm okay with that. And sure. Then you're able to, your body doesn't sound the alarms all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just know so many people struggle with it, and that's all I ever hear is like, oh, I have so much anxiety. I can't do this, can't do that. I struggle with it. I struggle with depression. Just a lot of things that people are struggling with. I think there's just so many people, and you feel like you're alone when you start hearing other people like are in the same boat that you are. It kind of gives you that time to relate and feel like, oh, I'm not so broken,
Absolutely.
And it's just like the older I've gotten, because I never used to be that way, like very, what's the word? Just very confident in everything that I've ever done. And now that, I'm older and now I should be really confident over all the ages you get in your 40s, you think you should know way more and feel more confident about yourself, but I actually don't. And so,
All right, can I play a fun game with you?
yeah, sure.
All right, where does that word should, where does that story come from? Now that I'm 40, I should fill in the blank. Where does that come from?
I don't know. What do you mean? Where does it come from? Like,
Did somebody tell you that when you become a 40-year-old mom, that you'll have it all together? Or maybe it was you watched your mom and she looked like she had it all together, and you didn't know in her head, she's like, I don't think we have enough money to make the end of the month. But you never knew because she was just getting it done, right? Yeah. And so that story that we absorb as kids, that when I get to be like her or like him, then things are going to be okay. Then we get there and we're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how to raise an 8th grader. That's what I got right now. I got an 8th grader. I've never raised an 8th grader. I've never done this and been married and had a 2nd grader and been on YouTube. I don't know how to do this stuff. And so it's all this, it's given myself a lot of grace. And I asked myself, all right, I should have, okay, where did that story come from? If the story is I should be providing for my family, yeah, you're right. I should. I should be, honoring my wife. You're right. I should. I should be taking care of my kids. You're right. Mm-hmm. I should know how to, says who? I don't know how to do that, right? So cool. I'm going to call a friend who actually knows. There was an electrical issue at my house, and I asked a guy yesterday, one of the engineers around the building, hey, man, it's a very simple fix. I thought I knew how to do it, but I just didn't fully know. So I don't have any shame in that. I love honoring him by saying, hey, you're really good at this stuff. How would I fix this? And he's like, well, just do this, this, and this. And so it's pulling those shoulds and those oughts and those have tos and really asking them, is that true? Where does that story come from? 40-year-old moms, dude, you get to sit there and go, I don't know what's happening, right? And it's all good. And then when your body starts to try to take care of you, like by being anxious or by not wanting to get out from under the covers with that dysthymia, that depressive feeling, cool. Just ask yourself, hey, what are you trying to protect me from today? And then we'll go from there.
Well, that's great. That's some great insight, and I'll have to do that more often because I know that I don't always do that. Just to talk a little bit about your book, I know that you have those 6 daily choices, and what made you come up with those particular choices that you use in your daily life?
I was trying to write a book for people who don't read books very often. And so I tried to make it as conversational as possible and as simple as possible. And we've kind of had an explosion of neuroscience lately and an explosion of voices out there, some really incredible people and minds out there teaching us about all these things. But I'm finding that it helps a really important part of the population, but there's also a group that never reads, that don't understand what serotonin is, and they don't understand what protocol means. Like, I just have 3 kids, and I want to be less anxious, and my husband doesn't like being around me, I can tell, or my wife doesn't like me, I don't know why. And so the book was written for them, and so what I try to do is distill all my professional life and all those years of working with people and my academic training and all the latest neuroscience. Like, how can I make this as simple as possible in bite-sized steps and that somebody can implement in their life, whether they have a PhD in neuroscience or they have they dropped out of high school and they're just trying to do life. And so that was the basis. How can I give somebody a path from a really anxious life, their body's always keeping them up, trying to get their attention, and give them some steps that they could follow to create some more peace in their life. And some of those steps, as you see, some of them are not hard, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are simple, but they're really hard. Some of them can take years to deal with, right? If you owe a bunch of money, your body would be failing you if it let you sleep all night because you're under threat. Because if you get fired, they're going to take your house, they're going to take your cars, they're going to take your food, right? So your body has to get your attention. Well, man, paying off your debt sometimes, it took me and my wife years to do that. Right? So some of that stuff's hard. Deciding I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start taking care of my body. That's not as difficult, right? So It's just figuring out which ones are the hardest for you and leaning directly into those.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think the 6 daily choices, I don't know, do you want to tell our listeners what they are? Do you want me to?
You go ahead and then pick one or two that really spoke
Okay.
to you. We can dig
Okay.
into them.
I like the reality, the connection, freedom, mindfulness, health and healing, and belief. I do believe they all go together. Reality, it was probably the one that I liked one of the most, and of course, connection. Reality of just like you said, taking inventory of like your life and like just heading, it's coming at you whether you want it to or not, and it's just got kind of going and facing it.
Well, and I think the important thing about choosing reality is twofold. One, we live in a world that is just bent on us being distracted at all times. If you really dig into reality, meaning how unhealthy your diet is, how much trouble your marriage actually is in, how much your kids are actually struggling, how crazy the government actually is. Like if you start digging into that, then we're going to have some significant systemic changes, and the powers that be don't want that. And so we have a whole ecosystem designed to keep you distracted. Just keep going, keep going. You get that next house, and as soon as you buy that house, you start planning for the bigger house. And as soon as you get that car, you start planning for when you're going to get the bigger car. Like that's just our world, right?
Sure.
And so, so you have this ecosystem designed to keep you distracted from reality, and your body is always solving for reality. What I mean by that is you can sit there and watch Netflix right next to your husband or your wife for 4 hours. And you can say out loud, no, I spent 4 hours with my husband last night. Your body knows that dude's not with you. Your body knows that your marriage is falling apart. And what I mean by that is it will flood you with cortisol and adrenaline every time he walks in the room. No matter what smile you put on your face, no matter what what moves you try to have, or if your wife is flipping her phone over every time you walk in the room because she doesn't want you to see what she's texting. You could tell yourself whatever story you want. Your body knows things aren't good. And so when you choose reality, it is sitting down and taking a hard inventory of your life. What's my relationship with my kids? And I'm not just going to blame it on the fact that they're teenagers. What's my relationship with my kids? What's my relationship with my partner? Is my job going to be here? Like, what's the status? How much money do I actually owe? Right? It's asking those hard questions, choosing reality. The world I live in, I'm going to own it. That can be both clarifying and freeing and really scary.
Oh, definitely. I agree. I loved that chapter. It was definitely one of my favorite ones. And also like the connection with people. I think that they all go hand in hand with each other. But I definitely think that I love how you said we cannot live our lives like alone. And just with people that do struggle with anxiety, they kind of like push everyone like away, or most people do. I don't know if everyone does, but I'm one of those people that would just, I don't want to, like my girlfriends will meet up for lunch, or there's like a big event because I do real estate and I'm a realtor. And it's just like, there's some things that I'm just like, I'm excited about and I want to go, but then I get anxiety and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go, and then I'll put it off and not go and then regret it later on. And it's just like, I don't want to be around people. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what that part is, but
it's social, right? So your body's identified groups of people that might be judging you
sure.
as a threat, and I don't want to deal with it. And real estate folks are tough on each other. Why are you wearing that? You don't have hair extensions. When did you get your nails done? I mean, they're mean to each other, right? And so I think that alarm is right. The most eye-opening thing I found in this book, the two things that rattled me. One was the scientific literature around clutter and anxiety. Your house is surrounded by junk, and you have storage spaces, and you have a full closet that you can't move in, and you have a garage that's overflowing. Your body's going to metabolize that as anxiety. It's going to make you anxious. You got too much stuff. We have bodies designed for scarcity, and we're surrounded by junk everywhere. And the other thing that surprised me was that when your body feels anxious, and you avoid the thing that your body feels anxious about. So for you, that might be going to the party. Like your heartbeat is beating fast, your hands are getting sweaty, and you think about it, and you're like, no, everybody's going to be my friend there, but I'm just going to feel X, Y, or Z. That if you don't go, it actually makes your anxiety response stronger. It reinforces it because your body got what it wanted. It kept you away from that party. So the only way to minimize that alarm is to head directly into it and deal with it, and to walk in. And I had one couple that I worked with last year that had a similar trajectory. One of the homework assignments I gave them was to have somebody to their house once a week, a different couple to their house, and they had to put one thing in the living room that was embarrassing. So they had they had to mess up something. They couldn't treat their home like a museum that they were showing off to these people coming over, because that's not connection. That is performance. And so they would leave like a basket of dirty laundry out on a couch, and they would, it was just very, they said, man, they're like, the first couple of times we kept looking over at the mess. And it was strange that all the visitors, no one ever mentioned it. Not one time did anyone think anything of it. And it became, oh, dude, we were performing for these people. We were not enjoying and being present with these people. So similar, wear 2 different earrings. Don't get your hair done. Just don't get your nails done. Have them all chipped up and crazy. Go to the thing and just be a lovely, fun person, which you are, to go hang out with. And then what you're going to do is your body is going to begin to go, oh, that's safe. That's fine. And by the way, if people don't want to hang out with you because you don't have the right hair extension, like, dude, thank God. Your body knew you don't need to be around those people anyway. I want nothing to do with those people in my life, right? So I think but again, that's back to owning reality and then choosing. I am going to put myself in situations where I can be with people that I can be honest with, that I can care about, that I can, like, do you have any realtor friends that you can call and just say, dude, I sold a huge house, and they'll cheer with you? Yeah. Instead of being like, oh, I would have gotten this for, like, who are just happy for you.
Sure.
We have to have that in our culture, man. So I was talking to my buddy the other day, Dave, and he said he had a group of guys that they met for 14 years. And one of the rules was you have to brag every week. What's the thing that you did great, or the thing that happened good in your business or your marriage or your home? Just practicing saying something good that happened. We don't even do that, much less the negative stuff. So, yeah, those 2 are really important chapters. They kind of lay the foundation for everything else that comes.
Yeah, I agree. Those were the 2 favorite ones, and then also like the belief, the belief in like something bigger than yourself. And I'm a Christian. I'm an LDS Mormon person, and I strongly believe in like a higher power and a God, and in Jesus, and I think that's probably one of the easier choices to make, is just like be grateful and have prayer and stuff like that on a daily basis. It's just everything I have is because of of God, I believe, and just knowing it's just not all about me and like the center of the world, or stuff like that. But yeah, that was definitely my 3 favorite topics of the book. And
Very cool.
Which one was the hardest for you? Like, or which one do you kind of, you have them all down right now?
Mindfulness is tough for me, and all mindfulness is, whenever I hear the words mindful, I always think of like some old guy on a cloud, like sitting crisscross applesauce, or meditating, like Om, like that's what I always think about. But all mindfulness I'm talking about here is the gap between what my body wants to do right now and what I actually do next. And it's that guy that cuts me off in traffic, and like I just start yelling automatically. And when you can begin to train your body to just lengthen that gap between stimulus and response, between your kid comes and just says, I can't believe, I hate you. And before you respond, you exhale. Whew. And then you inhale. And instead of getting a reaction out of you, you're a regulated adult. You don't respond like a child. You get out of here. You can't talk to me. No, you can't talk to me like that, but I'm going to be an adult here. And when you can train your body that way, I'm a pretty impulsive guy. And my wife used to tell me back when we were in college and we were dating, like we'd be out and she says, your jaw does a certain thing that I know we're about to get into a mess. And so I would get you out. And so I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I just can tell by the way your shoulders move and your jaw moves. Like we should probably go. So I've worked on just impulsivity. In that I'm impulsive about buying a house. I'm impulsive about, like, I'm buying that guitar. Like, I'm pretty impulsive. And so having a space between stimulus and response is tough. It's just been a practice for me. Now I'm really good at it, but it's been a long time. And probably the hardest thing for me is belief. I grew up in a Christian home, and I'm an academic nerd, and I like to pull things apart. And there's some mystery there that I realized that I was using data and facts and arrogance as a drug, as a numbing agent from the mystery that is God's real and God's bigger than me. And God is in control of everything. And I don't get a vote about that. And I didn't like that. And my immature self was like, that's not fair. Well, that's just the way, it is, right? And so that one is one that's really important to me that I'm constantly coming back. In fact, I just hired a theologian for the next 6 months who's going to walk alongside me. And we're going to get into some, and I just love learning. So I'm kind of a nerd. But I think digging into those things are really important to me. So, those two are the toughest ones for me. And the beauty of those 6 steps is almost everybody I've talked to, a couple of them are really easy. Like you, like, dude, belief's just simple. It's just the way things are. That's how one of my friends, she's just like, yeah, dude, I don't know. I can't conceptualize the world without that. But when I told her health and healing, you got to get blood tests, you got to go see a doctor and a dentist, and you need to start exercising, she was like, you can just shut your mouth, right? And so going to the gym for me, I do that every day. It's just like a way of my life. It's like go to the bathroom for me. So some of them, if, 1 or 2 or 3 of them are going to be pretty easy for you. 1 or 2 of them are going to be like, oof, this one's going to be tough. And then 1 or 2 are going to be no way. And that's really where you need to start. That's the storage space you need to dig into, because that's where the demons are, right? That's where the skeletons are. And you got to get into that. And that might be choosing reality. I don't want to face the state of my marriage right now. I get that. That's hard. Because you might say what is true and he might leave. That's a reality, right? People call into my show all the time and we talk about it. He left. Or like, my kid's not okay. And you got to say out loud, I don't know what to do. And that's scary. It's just easier to turn on a TV show, hand him a tablet and go about your day, right? And just Uber eat some food and just get to tomorrow and then get to tomorrow and then get to tomorrow. Choosing reality can be really hard for folks. I've become addicted with choosing reality. Now I love it, almost pathologically. It's like I'm too much like, all right, what's the state of things right now? Like, dude, just chill. So I love it. But everybody's going to find a couple of these easy, a couple of them mediocre, and then a couple of them really, really hard.
Yeah, I think reality is definitely the toughest one for me. But I really enjoyed that chapter of your book. I started just reading your other book, the one you did right before this.
Oh, On Your Past, Change Your Future,
yeah. So I really like them. They're really good.
Well, I appreciate it.
So when you wrote this book, what was your goal? Your overall goal for people to, what did you want them mostly to take out of it?
I wanted people to have a tangible path. I wanted people to not think they're crazy, or they're somehow broken, because you're not. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, your body's working just right. It's trying to get your attention. It knows you're sick. It knows you're not well. It knows your relationships aren't great. It knows your marriage is falling apart. It knows that you're about to lose your job, or you're never going to lose your job, or your job's going to go away because technology is going to replace it. Your body knows. And so I want people to know they're not crazy, and then I want them to have a path out. And that path, like, let's take for example, let's pretend you had 3 kids and you're married and you're running a podcast and you're writing books and you're a real estate agent, and then you can't sleep. Well, in our culture, we would say, oh, well, just take this for sleep, or just do this and this and have these 10 breathing exercises before you go to sleep. Man, sleep is a core biological function that should have been removed from the human species years ago. Because how dumb is it that our body, for 1/3 of the day, doesn't mate, doesn't try to get food, doesn't build shelter. It just curls up in a defenseless position and goes into neutral. That's insane. That also should tell us just how important it is, right? And so when you choose reality, when you're choosing health and healing, you may have to ask really hard questions about, is this the season to write a book? Is this the season to add more real estate clients? Or is this a season for me to fill in the blank? And in our culture, we've been told, follow your passions. You can do it all, especially women. Y'all have been just murdered with this. You can do it all at the same time. And in fact, if you don't, it's because of you, and you need the new yoga routine or the new planner or the new makeup or the new whatever, a new boyfriend, a new husband, because whatever. And there's just this ecosystem of more. And if you're not, you're failing. And man, I want to reverse engineer that whole thing. Let's start with, dude, I'm going to sleep. And then what kind of life can I have after that? I want to be present with my family. What kind of life am I going to have after that? Or last year, my wife and I knew I was writing a big book and that it was going to take me all over the country, and it was going to be chaotic, and it was going to be really late nights of writing and editing and then traveling. And so for a year, we built that into our lives. This year is going to be a madhouse. And so, John, you're going to have to limit some of your speaking events. You're going to have to limit some of the outside things when you show up at people's house at 2 a.m. to help them with their kid who just died by suicide. Like, you're going to have to stop that this year for a season. But we got together and we planned it. And when you take ownership, when you choose reality and you plan it and you head into these seasons, they're chaotic, they're wild, they're disconnecting. But I never got anxious, right? And that's a difference. Anxiety often sounds the alarms when it knows you're not in the driver's seat of your own life. When you're driving, even if you're driving over potholes and in rocky terrain, or you're in the mud, you're not going to get anxious. You might get dirty and messy, but you're not going to get anxious because your body knows you're driving. And so I think that's ultimately the goal, is give people a path. I'll just go back there.
Yeah. I really like that. I like that you stated in your book that you want to like help people and just to try to overcome that, and that they are worthy of it, of being like who they are. And just, I really enjoyed that. I've rewritten this so many times. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to even say? But yeah, that was just one thing that I had was, I really like that part that you stated. And sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Dang it. I don't know what I did with it, but yes, it was just something that, stood by me. And that's kind of like when I started my podcast, as something as I want people to be able to relate and know that they're like not alone, and something like with anxiety and the things that they go through, and depression and all of that stuff, that, we're all in this together, and, we're just all trying to help each other out. And I really like your vibe and the way that you are on your podcast and the things that you do to like help people, which says a lot about who you are as a person.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think it's also important to note there is a season. I did go see a doctor, and I did spend some time on some medication. My alarms were so jacked up, I ignored them for so many years. By the way, when I say I ignored them, I wasn't doing crazy things. I was working really hard on a couple of full-time jobs, and I was trying to be a good husband, and I was trying to be the dad of a toddler after 4 years of infertility. Like, I was working really hard. It's just I pushed past my body trying to let me know, hey, dude, something's got to give. You can't be getting a PhD and working 2 full-time jobs and being the husband that you want to be and serving your local church and being a dad who's present. Like, you can't do all of this. And I just kept firing and firing and firing. And eventually my body said, well, I quit. I'm out. So I ignored my alarms for so long that I did, man. I had to go see a doctor. And that's part of people's journey sometimes. That's all good. It's all good. But I think that we are capable of so much more, and not more money or more hours worked, but we can do way harder things than we think. We're tougher than we think we are. And so my challenge to everybody is, when you feel anxious, head into that alarm. What is your body trying to protect you from? Throw your shoulders back, stick your chin up, and just ask the mirror, what are you trying to protect me from right now? Mm-hmm. And dude, you may have to deal with some hard stuff on the back end of that, but it's always worth it on the back end. Always.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. Do you have anything that you would like to tell us? I know you've been talking through this whole podcast, but are you working on another book? Are you going to bring
No,
another?
in fact, I told the team I'm not writing a book. I've written 3 in 3 years, so I'm wore out.
Oh
So
wow, that's awesome.
this year we're just focusing big time on the Dr. John Delony show, and it comes out 3 times a week, and people call in from all over the world with different relationship challenges or mental health issues, and we walk alongside them, and I try to help them do the next right thing, whatever that happens to be. And
Yeah, I've listened to it. It's pretty. I like your advice to
I
a lot
appreciate
of the women about with their husbands and people that are struggling. And I even watched the one with, I think it was you and your wife recently.
yeah, I had my wife on for the 500th
Yeah, that's
episode, and that
awesome.
was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's great.
People got
That's
to see that I married somebody way smarter than me.
It's different. Definitely, totally two different people.
Oh, could not be more different, which I think makes it
Yeah.
super fun. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. That's awesome. I'm glad that she's very supportive of you, and I'm sure that that's a lot to take on as a wife and a mom. And
Yeah,
to
as she says
get
that
with
often, that I'm a lot. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on, and I also wanted to, where can they find your book?
You can just follow me at John Delony across all the platforms, or you can go to johndelony.com to buy the book. Or it's actually everywhere. It's in Barnes & Noble, Amazon. It's everywhere. So it's out in Target.
That's where yep.
Yeah, you can get it at Target. It's out in the wild. So I appreciate you so much. It's been selling out at Target. So if they don't have it, you can get it on Amazon, but it's out.
That's great. And I do want to do, I want to give away your book as well. I bought another copy.
That's
and
awesome.
I want to give away to one of my listeners if they comment John Delony, anxiety. I'll pick a winner and send that out to you. So stay tuned to my next episode, and I appreciate you being on here, and thank you again.
You're awesome. Thank you for your hospitality. I appreciate it.
We'll have to have you on again sometime.
Excellent. All right. You did a great job too. Thank you.
Thank you. Nervous. I don't know. We'll see if I can get over this. This is such a huge thing for me to talk in public. I get more nervous and I can't bring my words out and stuff like that. So I'm getting there.
Awesome. From whether being on a stage or whether doing media, once I realized it's just a conversation between me and whoever I'm talking to, it just took all the air out of it, which makes it awesome. Then we can have a real.
I know.
Whenever I find myself performing, that's when I get all flustered. Yeah.
Yes, that's where I need to kind of, I don't know, think of
Oh,
it
it's
like
practice.
that.
Just reps and reps. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, you might be seeing me on a reality show soon, so with my
Excellent.
daughter. So
Well,
I
have
might
fun.
give you some good practice. So,
All right. Make good
Thank
choices.
you, and have fun in Utah.
All right. Take care. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.